Over the course of its history, the Hells Angels motorcycle organization has had its fair share of scary and dreaded members. These people have earned a legendary status within the group and are renowned for their grit, loyalty, and involvement in crime. The Hells Angels' 10 most infamous members will be examined in this video, along with their histories, legacies, and effects on the organization as a whole. Starting off our countdown with number 10 is Sonny Barger. Unquestionably, Sonny Barger has had a significant impact on the Hells Angels motorcycle organization throughout its history. He was instrumental in establishing the Oakland chapter's reputation and identity as a co-founder. Within the Hells Angels, Barger was the absolute leader. For many years, he presided over the Oakland chapter and established himself as the club's national and worldwide face. His status as a significant player inside the organization was cemented by his powerful personality and capacity to garner respect from club members. It is impossible to disregard Barger's involvement in illicit activity. Under his direction, the Hells Angels carried out a number of illegal activities, such as the trafficking of drugs, the smuggling of weapons, and violent crimes. Due to his participation in a plot to blow up a rival motorbike club's clubhouse, Barger was found guilty and sentenced to time in prison. Coming in at number 9 on our list is George Christie. George Christie, a former president of the Hells Angels chapter in Ventura, became well known within the organization for his strategic thinking, charismatic leadership, and controversial methods. He had a profound effect on the Hells Angels and the motorcycle club scene during his time as a chapter president. Stepping on to number 8 on our list is Terry Orendorf. In the turbulent 1960s and 1970s, Terry Orendorf, better known as Terry the Tramp, was a dreaded Hells Angel. Within the motorbike club, he had a reputation as a fiery and erratic person who irrevocably altered its history. Terry the Tramp was one of the most feared Hells Angels during his time because of his propensity for violence. He was frequently involved in physical fights with other club members and competing motorcycle gangs. He was a force to be reckoned with in the club and the greater biker world because of his propensity for violence and desire to get into fights. Moving on to number 7 on the list is Harry Joseph Bowman. During his time as Hells Angels president in the 1980s and 1990s, Harry Joseph Bowman had a considerable impact. Bowman had a profound impact on the Hells Angels and the world of illegal motorcycles. He was known for his ruthlessness, involvement in organized crime, and growth of the group. He was renowned for his no-nonsense attitude and willingness to use force to further the goals of the Hells Angels. Bowman got into a lot of fights, both with other motorcycle organizations and with others who ran into the Hells Angels. His standing as a powerful figure within the club was cemented by his reputation as a tough and unyielding commander. He was found guilty in 1999 on federal racketeering counts, which included drug trafficking, murder conspiracy, and other criminal offenses. His conviction led to a lengthy prison term, which effectively put an end to his tenure as the Hells Angels leader. Coming in at number 6 is Walter Stadnik. In the Hells Angels past, Walter Stadnik, also known as Nurgit, played a significant role. In the late 20th and early 21st centuries, he had a considerable impact on the growth and consolidation of the club's presence in Canada. Stadnik became well known inside the Hells Angels as a leader, especially in the Eastern Canada area. Through strategic planning and strong leadership, he was able to steer clear of the tricky criminal underground dynamics and turn the Hells Angels into a powerful organization. Stadnik's participation in the expansion of the Hells Angels' drug trafficking operations was one of his major accomplishments. He was instrumental in creating a vast network that made it easier to distribute illegal substances, especially cocaine. The Hells Angels' status as a significant actor in the drug trade was cemented by Stadnik's capacity to establish alliances and manage massive criminal organizations. Violence and illegal activity have stained Stadnik's association with the Hells Angels. Numerous violent episodes, including assaults and even murder, have been connected to him. Stepping on to number 5 in the list is Philip Bual. In a Valley East pub on March 3, 2004, Bual attacked a father and his son, beating them both bloody with his fists. Donald Lavallee and his son Jeff Lavallee were the two individuals that were attacked. Lavallee Pierre intervened to save his son from the beating when he witnessed it happening, which prompted Bual to strike him back. Boudreaux beat Donald Lavallée so severely that his jaw was shattered 3 times. He lost some teeth along with a portion of his jawline, and he also sustained bruised ribs. Boudreaux was found guilty of a severe attack in a Sudbury pub in 2004 and sentenced in 2005. He agreed to a prison sentence of 3 years and accepted the lesser long-term offender classification, narrowly avoiding the dangerous offender designation and a life sentence in prison. Moving forward to number 4 on our list is Richard Vallee. With the help of Vallee, the Hells Angels were able to carry drugs across the border between Canada and the United States. In the border town of Champlain, New York, a group of Canadian Hells Angels entered a pub and bowling alley in January 1993 and asked the barman, Lee Carter, if he wanted to make some money transporting cocaine from New York to Montreal. Carter pretended to agree, but immediately got in touch with the NYSP, who hired him as an undercover agent. Carter bought cocaine in New York and gave it to 2 Canadian Hells Angels who tried to cross the border with it but were apprehended by American Customs. After being extradited to the United States in 2006, Vallee was found guilty of first-degree murder in connection with Carter's passing in September 2007. Vallee was given a life sentence in prison without the possibility of parole on April 13, 2008. Coming in at number 3 is Gerard Ward. In the Niagara Peninsula, Ward was on the verge of having a monopoly over the cocaine trade. He was well known in the criminal underworld for both the excellent quality of his cocaine, which drew drug dealers from all over Ontario to him in order to buy from him, and for the rival drug dealers who would pose as his employees in order to raise their own prices. Between 81 and 90% of the cocaine that Ward sold was pure. The police calculated that Ward was in charge of selling 75% of the cocaine in the Niagara region. Number 2, and the second most dreadful in the list, is David Carroll. Carroll collaborated with Lessard on the plans for the Lennoxville massacre, discussing how to get rid of the Montreal North chapter, which they had determined was a risk for the Hells Angels. Carroll visited Quebec in March 1985 to help Lessard fight the Laval chapter. Carroll, who was present at the Lennoxville shooting on March 24, 1985, was accused of first-degree murder for his actions at the time, but he was exonerated in 1987. In connection with the killing of a young man in Dartmouth who was allegedly in drug debt to the Hells Angels, Carroll was charged with first-degree murder once more on April 7, 1988. The trial resulted in another acquittal for Carroll. In the top spot and number 1 is Maurice Boucher. Boucher was found guilty of rape after holding a gun to the head of a 16-year-old girl in September 1984 and threatening to shoot her immediately if she refused to have sex with him. Boucher was able to fraudulently receive unemployment benefits while he was incarcerated. The address where the checks were being sent was a prison, but a clerk didn't realize it until just before his release in January 1986. Boucher joined the Montreal chapter of the Hells Angels motorcycle organization in 1986, not long after serving his 40-month-long term for the armed sexual assault, and advanced through its ranks fast. In 1988, Boucher traveled to Mississauga, Ontario, where he attempted to hijack a truck and take it back to Montreal, but he was quickly apprehended by the Peel Regional Police.